It is now time to review Ring of Honor Final Battle 2024. It's the last of the big Ring of Honor pay-per-views of every year, each year. That's why it is the final battle, you see. And we return to the Hammerstein Ballroom for this on December 20, 2024. Of course, Ring of Honor and the Hammerstein have a long history together. The Hammerstein being very much intertwined with Ring of Honor's, that's, like I said, Ring of Honor's history and some of its great moments. Were we able to recapture them in this show? Well, let's start by talking about attendance, shall we? 1,491 people were in attendance, or at least tickets were distributed, right, according to WrestleTix. But WrestleTix did note that it was a sellout in regards to the seating setup that Ring of Honor had for the show. Because if I'm not mistaken, the Hammerstein can hold at least 1,000 more people. But there's always seats that are taken away for production reasons, essentially. So who knows how many? Well, at least I'm sure we can figure it out. I haven't because ultimately you all know I'm bad at math. So I'm not going to start adding and subtracting and doing all that bullshit. It's just going to continue, fueling the meme, and I'm going to feel much more of a doofus than I usually do. So we're gonna refrain from that. But ultimately, the setup was achieved. They got all the tickets that were made available. They were distributed. So that's kind of good. They've done better for final battles than this, even since TK took over. So, I'm sure they would have preferred to be forced to free up more tickets. I'm sure that's something that they would have been looking forward to. But in the state that I'm going to lump in AEW into this, the state that AEW is in right now, I feel like filling out the Hammerstein and getting some really great crowds in there is probably feeling better for them than filling out only a quarter of a basketball arena. That has to be one that at least has to make them feel a little better about that, right? And as I mentioned on the Dynamite that I do, the Dynamite reviews, and as I mentioned on the Dynamite reviews that I do every Thursday here on the channel, the smaller venues have been a boon, I find, to the energy from the crowd and how Dynamite comes across on television. It's been a lot different. The crowds have been better. They're more into it. That was just natural. It's also something that I had been mentioning for a while. I'd been a proponent of getting AEW out of the big venues for a while now, as its ticket selling woes continue to be what they are right now. Until they start to improve, there's really no reason to go back. It's preferable to have a smaller venue with a really hot crowd, especially if you're broadcasting it on television, because then it comes across much better. Now, was this a hot crowd? Look, I think it was hot for the things that were really good, but otherwise it was a pretty uneven one, as far as I can tell. I wouldn't say that it was a terrible crowd, but I wouldn't say it was a great one either. When I did the Final Battle instant reaction over for Voices of Wrestling on their Patreon, you should check it out if you're a member, and if you're not, consider subscribing, of course, to the Patreon. Lots of great stuff over there, including me stepping in for Rich Craich while he's unavailable to do an instant reaction. Me, the guy who doesn't like doing instant reactions, but I do them. I think I do them with someone else, and it goes a lot better because you can bounce off of each other, and I think it helps formulate opinions as and thoughts, and things come to you as whoever your co-host is. You have things that germinate in your mind as you listen to them, and it helps formulate a lot of stuff in your brain as you're doing it, as opposed to doing it alone, where I think then it's a lot more difficult, I find, to do an instant reaction and just being all in your own little capsule. The point being is that when I did it with Joe Lanza, Joe pointed out that he had received, he had heard that it was quite cold in New York City, rather chilly, and same here. It was very chilly last Friday here in old Quebec City. But apparently it was a little cold in the venue as well, which was, keeping people from having very natural reactions because everyone was like cold. And I'm like, really? I don't know. Like that one sounded a little weird to me, but I don't want to start making excuses for a crowd. They liked what they liked. I think the crowd was like what they liked, they really liked, and what they didn't, well, they let it known in the most polite way possible. Because I remember wrestling crowds back in the day, if they didn't like something, they wouldn't just be politely sitting on their hands and not reacting. They would be letting you know that this stunk. Maybe we didn't get to that level. Maybe we just didn't get to the level where the Hammerstein crowd would have felt compelled to express their disapproval in vociferous boos, or maybe you can't wrestle chants, or whatever the old standards were, which is surprising because it's a New York crowd. Anyway, again, maybe I'm being too harsh, and this is not necessarily an indictment on the show about itself. I'm not trying to lead you in and say, boy, this show stank, because it didn't. This was not a bad show. I thought overall it was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it for the most part. I thought it was pretty good. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun. I think the things that were really good hit some heights. I think there's really one match on this whole card where I was really like, no, this is bad. Like, this is not good. And the rest, well, either like mediocre all the way up to great. From mediocre all the way up to great, if I think about it. That's pretty much how I feel about it. So why don't we get into this review then? Why don't we start things off? I'm wondering how to break this down. Should we I think we will start. I'm asking, should we start as if, there's a live chat and there's no one. I'm recording this offline. I can't ask anyone here. I think what we'll do is we'll start with the main event and make our way down. We'll get the business end of the show out of the way and then see for the rest. Ergo, we will begin with Athena successfully retaining the Ring of Honor World's title, Women's World title. Why do I? This is something that it just cannot stick into my brain. It's something that I've been carrying for forever, I believe. The use of the apostrophe S in a women world title. For some reason, I always put the apostrophe S on the world and not the women, which is actually where it should go. It's Ring of Honor, there's another apostrophe. Ring of Honor World Women's World. Jesus Christ, I am such a fucking mess when it comes to and go back and watch the tape. I am unable to correct myself. I don't know what the issue is. I think I need to go back to training. I think I just need to go back and train. Now, I need to get back to, my basic training. Now, what kind of training did I get to do this? I didn't get any, so that may also explain a lot of things. It may bring to light certain deficiencies that I have in my execution here. The Ring of Honor Women's World Championship was successfully defended by Athena as she defeated Billy Starks. Billy Starks, who came out dressed up in Sumi Sakai's gear, came out, I believe, to a Blink 182 song. I think that was the thing. I think that's what they wanted for this one here. But then again, like, I am not a big Blink 182 song. See, this is the thing. It's like, I'm kind of a music snob, and I understand that Blink 182 are a very, very big deal. I know, and I get that. I get they're popular. I get I get their music is well crafted. But when you're a music snob like me, you sort of listen to what they do, and they're like, yeah, no, okay, I get it. Like, it's derivative, it's radio friendly. Like, there's, it's a little, it's a little contrived. It's not my cup of tea, and I understand why people like it, and it's fine. if I want to listen to some pseudo punk, little poppy stuff, I know there's other places for me to go, right? There's definitely other places for me to go. I'll listen to the Killers, for instance. The Offspring. We'll go back. We might as well go with the OGs. I'll go with Green Day. We'll go with Weezer. Franz Ferdinand. I will go and consider and listen and enjoy those bands a lot more than Blink-182. So this is all my very my very roundabout way of saying that it sounded like a Blink-182 song, unless they got a really, really good sound alike. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Right. But ultimately, all of the licensed music could not really make this match better, because I didn't think this was a very good match. I think I'm gonna have, I feel like, some very unpopular takes here, and I think we need to start talking about some hard truths here as well. And they're all surrounding Billie Starkz. Now, I understand, trust me, I understand that Billie Starkz is stupid young. Like, I don't even think she's 21 yet, right? Like, she can't even legally drink yet. She's stupid young to be in pro wrestling, and has already had an extremely busy career. She started when she was 16, and she has this great vibe about her, like, that makes you feel that just makes you feel good. She's someone that you want to see succeed, right? When I say you, essentially me. Now, I don't want to cast aspersions or force you into thinking anything, but I kind of feel like it's a generalized feeling that everyone likes Billie Starkz, and everyone wants Billie Starkz to succeed in pro wrestling. And on top of it all, for myself, I really want to like Billie Starkz, because I think she has a great story overall as a human being, as a professional wrestler. I'm not talking at all in this circumstance about the kayfabe story that they had with the minions and all this stuff. I'm talking about Billie Starkz as a whole. She had great, compelling story. We've seen her develop right before our eyes, like from the greenest of grass wrestlers to where she is today. A lot of us were even cheering her on when it was finals, when she was going through high school and getting her grades in, and like it's all a very, very tremendous path she's been on. And I really want to like Billie Starkz. I really want to. But when I see matches like this, I find it kind of hard to, because pound for pound, let's say wrestler for wrestler, anyone else who didn't have this likability that she has, I would be absolutely hand waving them. I'm trying to be as objective as I can here. Any other pro wrestler not named Billie Starkz, who would have been in that exact same spot and would have done the exact same moves or lack thereof, would have infuriated me. It would have just made me so mad. I'd be sitting here shouting at the top of my lungs stuff like, what is this person doing on this pay-per-view in a main event spot? Like, this would be the bread and butter of my review right now. But I'm also trying to balance this out with the fact that, well, Billie is still a rookie. She clearly still needs some reps. I don't think she was ready for this spot, and ultimately AEW made the right call. So I can't be that mad overall with the match itself. But guys, gals, non-binary pals, we sort of have to come to a realization that right now, Billie Starkz is kind of not good, and she's hit a ceiling. I don't think she really has been improving recently, and I can only judge from PLE to PLE essentially, and she's kind of on the same level. And the stuff that she does in the ring these days, it's like she has, she still has trouble running the ropes. Her strikes look like shit. Yes, don't get me wrong. The swanton to the floor was, is a bonkers move. Don't get me wrong, and I popped for that. But that's also part of Billy's arsenal. Just throwing herself around and doing a couple of spots in a match where you're like, Jesus Christ, it's like, I want you to still be working. I want you to still be walking by the age of 25, But look, I can buy that certain wrestlers get by on vibes. I talk about it quite a bit. How professional wrestlers sometimes are, when the charisma is good enough and the vibe that they get off is strong enough, they are able to get by in the business on said vibes, right? Of course, the perennial example is Hulk Hogan, right? Or a guy like Bill Goldberg, not necessarily the most talented people in the ring, not work rate generals by any stretch of the imagination, but have that vibe, absolutely have the vibe to carry them, right? It's when you're able to combine the both that then you end up with, these crazy ass megastars that have, legendary careers. Billy at this stage in her career is not main event material. She's not world champion material. And I think she's proven it. I think she's shown it. I thought, thinking back, the match that she had with Athena a year ago was better, and I think was hotter at the same time. I didn't think this one had that much buzz around it. I think people were excited about it. Nonetheless, because it's Billy. I think there's two reasons. In fact, I think there's two reasons. And the first reason is because it's Billy Starks, because it's someone you want to see win. There's a bit of an underdogginess to her as well. That, again, wrestlers can make entire careers upon, right? And there's that quality about her that makes people want to root for her and want good things for her. And especially since a lot of them maybe have a proximity to that because of her story, because, of how things are promoted on social media. Warren, isn't that a little bit what a parasocial relationship is? Well, yes, but don't get me wrong. Pro wrestling has been about parasocial relationships, I think, for the entirety, for as long as I can remember. You want people to get attached to a pro wrestler. You create this headcanon about them because it is what it is, because promoters want you to believe that these wrestlers are what they are, correct? We could argue that maybe the parasocial aspect goes a little further in modern days, because I kind of think fandom is weird these days, but that's a whole other conversation for another time. The point still stands that I think that people got excited about it because they did see this as an exclamation mark on Billy's career so far, which we have seen grow and improve over the years. I think that's reason number one why people were excited about this match. I think reason number two is because there's a lot of people who want Athena back on AEW, myself included. Yeah, let's be real, myself included. They want Athena back on AEW to have matches up on Dynamite. I was gonna say on Main, but you know what I mean, right? They want Athena back there, and I think that's why a lot of people were excited about it. I think that's why a lot of people were really, really excited about it. I myself was 100% convinced that they were doing this. Athena doing media for the Texas Stadium show, and stuff like that. I'm like, sure. I mean, this is what you do. And, I'm even going through my brain and thinking about match setups. And I'm like, Athena Mercedes Moné would be, I think that's a bit of a money match. I think that's something, if not, look, okay, hang on a second. Pump the brakes here, Hayes. Maybe not a money match, but a big match, something that would get some attention. And honestly, if properly booked, could really be indeed a money match. But, this is me like going through stuff in my brain, trying to to think of, oh, why would they do this? And look at all the possibilities that exist in AEW to open the doors up for Athena to have some new matches and maybe freshen things up at the same time. Like, there's a lot of possibilities there. But then I see this match, and then I'm thinking to myself, well, this is actually the best call. And I know a lot of people are angry, but this really is the best call for the women's division of Ring of Honor, regardless of where you want who to end up where. Billie Starkz is not a world champion. Like, she doesn't wrestle like one. She doesn't feel like one. It's just not her time. I'm not saying she can never be, because she's too young, and I think there's still a lot of stuff for her that she could. I think there's still a lot for her to. There's a lot of room for her to grow. Still, is what I'm trying to say. She can still become a great pro wrestler, but she's not there yet. She really isn't. There's a lot of stuff that she was doing in the ring that should be out of her system by now. This is basic stuff. And you know, like I said, I'm sure this is not a popular opinion. I know this is not a popular opinion because of how angry people were when the match ended the way it did. And people still, you know, saying, oh, great job, Billie, she was fantastic. And looking at the ratings on Cage Match, and this match being a almost at a 6.91, when I think it is a much worse match than that. Even though I didn't think it was a bad match, this is what, like, a 6.91 is, you know, we're in 3.25 star territory, right? If I'm thinking about this really quickly, yeah, like a 7 would be 3.25, like 7.5 would be like 7.5 would be 3.5. You know, it's too close to 7 for me. This is a 2.5 star match. I didn't think this was very good. I think Athena worked hard. I think Athena did everything well, you know, and there's some things here where I'm like, especially when it came to the strikes, where I'm like, why is she holding back? Why is she holding back? It's Athena, who has been around the block and then back around the block and around the block again. Like, she has the experience here. I don't know why Billie Starkz was holding back on Athena, who probably might even be telling her, because they seem to have been talking a lot in this match. They were calling a lot of, they seem to have been calling a lot of spots, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. It's just, all I'm saying is that it seems that, like, there were a lot of those. I could have seen Athena going, lay him in, just hit me, lay in. But no, Billie's offense looks soft, and the match was sloppy. Like, on top of it all, like, this wasn't very good. And like I said, like, this, and I take no joy in this, because, like I said, I like Billie Starkz, and you know, I like Billie Starkz, and I want to really like Billie Starkz, and I want to sit here and tell you she's great. I want to sit here and tell you she's great when she legitimately is great. And I know there's a lot of people who say she was great, what a great showing, but this was not. This was not. Or, you know, everyone else's standards are in the fucking mud. But I also think it's like they want this to be such a truth that they're trying to will it into existence. We've talked about this multiple times here on any type of media that I create. I wish people would stop telling, I wish people would stop saying that everyone is great, like, from the get-go when they start. You know, this is particularly prevalent with the NXT people. You know, they're all great. Everyone is great. You know, Thea Hale, great. Jada Parker, great. Lola Vice, great. They're all great. You know, Sol Ruka, great. Everyone's great. The thing is that I think this is something that should objectively be earned. I don't think there's a problem in being nuanced in your analysis of a pro wrestler. You can say, I like this person, but clearly they're not ready, or there's still a lot of work to do. Oh, I can notice improvement. That is always a fun thing to say when you're watching pro wrestling, when you see someone progressing from, let's say, the rookie year as they move on to go, you know what? They're getting better. And that to me is much more thrilling than trying to get people to swallow the fact that they're great out the gate, just out the gate, great. And we got to stop that, because eventually when that person does become great, well, you're on a lot of superlatives to put that person over. And then what do you do? What do you say? They've been great. They've been great since their debut. You can count the number of great pro wrestlers who started great and remained great on one hand, legitimately. So I'm not going to sit here and bald-faced lie to you that Billie Starkz was great here. She was not. And I'm not going to say that Billie Starkz is a great pro wrestler. She is not. She has so much work to do. And I am not burying her. I'm not saying that she is a disaster. I'm not saying that she doesn't belong in a ring. You know, I've seen pro wrestlers like this, and I call them out, and I'll tell you, but this is not the case. This is not the case with Billie. Billie can be a better pro wrestler than this, and she has the room to grow, and she has the environment in which to grow as well. But she has to get back and work on some foundations. She has to go back and work on some basic stuff, because the basic stuff she doesn't have a grasp on, and it's glaring, and it really hurt this match. It really, really did hurt this match. So ultimately, it was the best call. Otherwise, the women's division would have been in such a state. You know, let's say Athena leaves right now, and Billie is at the top. Who's contending? Like, what's the story here? You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Anyway, I don't watch Ring of Honor outside of the PLE, so I can't give you like a detailed, you know, weekly breakdown of everything that happens there. All I know is what I saw. And this wasn't it. This wasn't it, brother. Chris Jericho defeated Matt Cardona to retain the Ring of Honor World title. I didn't hate this match, but I didn't like it either. Like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and slap a 3 and tell you, oh, good little match. You know, 2 and 3/4 look, you know, 50-year-old Chris Jericho against Matt Cardona, who, you know, he's not, you know, he's not Bryan Danielson, you know, he's not Kenta Kobashi here, you know, he does his thing, and especially as a baby face. You know, Cardona's very, you know, he's a very good heel, and now he's in the babyface role. And all right, you know, they do the big entrance with Chris Jericho with the kick line, and let me tell you, I will tell you this. Now, I am not a connoisseur of you know, big stage kick lines. You know, I'm not one that is, you know, I'm not, let's say, very in tune with the history of the Rockettes, right? For instance. However, I have seen enough kick lines to know, without a shadow of a doubt, that the ladies who made up Chris Jericho's kick line were not professional kick line dancers, I guess. They have never worked a kick line in their life. You could tell for multiple reasons. You know, including the height differential, you know, on some among some of the, not trying to shame anyone, just saying, you know, they wouldn't be working, they wouldn't be working for the Rockettes. That's just how it goes. But most importantly, their beat, the rhythm, holding the beat. Oh boy, you know, good effort, good job, everyone involved. And boy, oh boy, did they play? Look, they played the whole New York, New York. They had all of Sinatra's. They had all of Sinatra, you know, crooning the whole way through to the very last note. Right? Until the very last, until the final crash to end the song. And Tony was getting his money's worth. He was saying, no, I am not cutting this midway. I paid enough for this, for a Ring of Honor show available only on Honor Club. I'm going to squeeze every dime I have. I'm going to squeeze every minute out of this. But look, my assessment on this match essentially is this was a WWE style main event. You know, well worked and so on, but you know, shenanigans, nonsense. But ultimately, I've got nothing. Like, there's nothing to break down. You've seen the structure of match. You've seen it multiple times, and you know exactly what it is. You know, we're a far cry from from Joe versus Kobashi in terms of Ring of Honor history, right? You know, Danielson Morishima, this was not. It is what it is. Again, I've got the cage match right in front of me here. They're giving this a 2.87. Like, they are burying the match, but you know, cage match is also very unfavorable to Chris Jericho very naturally. I don't think it was that bad. I really don't think that was that bad. If it was that bad, you know, there's a lot of WWE main events from the past 4 years that need a significant downgrade. If this is a 2.87 out of 10 match, like it didn't work for me, like for all the reasons you know, but I don't think it's that terrible a match. I don't think it's like one of the worst matches of the year by any way, shape, or form. The crowd was kind of into it, which helps. You know, that always helps. That always helps a match. But yeah, Big Bill gets involved, and Brian Keith is involved, and there's a lot of involvement and a bit of a bullshit ending. And you know, it's what it is. What it is. Now, before we get to the Bandito stuff, you know, the discussion has returned. Of course, you all know this. The discussion is back in regards to why is Chris Jericho ROH World Champion? Oh, does this mean that Ring of Honor is finally going to get a TV deal and Tony Khan is strapping up Chris Jericho because he's a big recognizable name and that will help bring in attention, viewers, and so on and so forth. Oh, and maybe this is why they're hanging on to Athena, because she also has some name value. She's been the star of the brand for the past 2 years. Why aren't we just like why aren't we just like putting all of this together, right? And why else would we be putting all of this together if not to straight up demonstrate that we do have star power for the Ring of Honor show, which is going to start on TV? Well, it turns out Tony Khan, during the press event after Ring of Honor was asked, you know, at what line we're at or something like that. You know, the football analogy. Where are we at with the Ring of Honor? Ring of Honor stuff and with the TV deal, and Tony outright said, you know, he just flat out said, you know, we're not at any line, right? You know, when we were talking about the TV deal, you know, he'd talk about, or we're at the 40, you know, we're heading in the home, you know, we're within field goal range. I don't remember if he said that. You know, but he said, you know, we're in the red zone, right? We're about to score the touchdown. We're in the red zone. And, you know, so if there's one thing that Tony Khan has always done in these pressers is be as upfront as possible. Like, I don't think he's ever outright lied to media and say, because it would have been really easy for him to say, oh, yeah, TV deal coming up. But here he outright said, look, we're at no line at all. There's no lines. We're not even on the field yet. You know, that's not what he said. But he said we're at no line just yet. Meaning that there are no discussions. There's nothing going on. Ring of Honor is still floating on the side here, doing its own thing. And for the foreseeable future seems like it's going to stay on Honor Club for a while. And so be it, kind of thing. So all of these theories about, you know, Chris Jericho being the TV champion and Athena, you know, Chris Jericho being the champion for television and Athena hanging on to it for television, they don't hold water. They just don't hold water. It's people coping, I guess, to a degree. You know, people who are inherently upset that Chris Jericho has a title, trying to make sense as to why Billy Starks lost. And I think it's a lot of cope. I think it's coping. And we've been here before. With the last time that Chris Jericho was Ring of Honor World Champion, we had all assumed that this is what was going to happen. But no, it really just didn't go that way. Anyway, it is what it is. Chris Jericho retains, and then Bandito made his return on Ring of Honor, which, let's be honest, a lot of people were surprised. I was surprised. You know, we're getting the vignettes over on AEW. We're getting the hype train back for Bandito, but over on Dynamite, everyone's expecting him to come back to Dynamite and make a splash. But no, he shows up at Final Battle, clearly to set up a program with Chris Jericho. But when I say clearly, I mean you have to sort of analyze what would have happened if Bandito had knocked himself out doing a springboard dropkick, which created like the most awkward, interminable moment of pro wrestling, right? Where it's because he comes in, does a little springboard dropkick to, I think it was to get rid of Big Bill, and he knocks himself out. He just gets back up and he's loopy and he's wobbly and everyone's waiting for the next move. And, Brian Keith is there. He's ready to attack, but he doesn't know what to do. And everyone's looking at Brian Keith is like, what are you doing? And then, finally they attack him when he delivers some super soft offense. But so then the ref, sees what's going on and he calls the protocol and, Paul Turner, I think it was, right? And you can hear him on the recording say, everybody out of the ring. Everybody out, right? And Bandito's just sort of there. And finally, like he gathers himself. He regains his senses. And then he's like, all right, let's go. He's calling people in. But man, what that sucks. Like that sucks. You've got the hype debut, the hype return. I mean, I say hype. Joe and I, we had noticed this, there really wasn't that big of a reaction for Bandito. A lot of people just really didn't know what was going on or who he was. And there were some people, don't get me wrong. One guy, facing hard cam in the, on the floor, lifted his hands up to his head and went, oh, did the soy face thing. It's like, oh my God, that's good, but it wasn't like, it didn't blow the roof off the place. People were like, oh, it's this guy? Former Ring of Honor world champion on top of that. Let me tell you. I don't know. I don't have much else to add here. A bit of an unfortunate return. Bit of an unfortunate return for Bandito, not going to lie. But it's that's also a very strange decision. I also think it's a very strange decision to be like, to hype him up on Dynamite, then bring him on to the Ring of Honor show, where I'm like, this is unique. It's a little unique, not gonna lie. Commander won the Survival of the Fittest 6-way elimination match to become the new Ring of Honor World Television Champion to the joy of everyone. This is how the holidays should feel like. I haven't talked with anyone who was like, Commander. Not a single person I have ever chatted with in regards to this over the past couple of days. I'm recording this on the Sunday, by the way, on the 22nd. No one has been saying, well, what a dumb decision, Commander. I haven't heard anything bad about this. I think this is a pure babyface, widely accepted decision that everyone thinks was the best thing to do, especially with the match. I love this match, and I was geared to not like this match. This had all of the trappings of well, in fact, it was designed for MrWarrenHayes to not like. This was put together for WarrenHayes to dislike. The multi-person match, like the scramble match for a title. Like, you can already hear me going, on the lead up. You could be like, oh, Warren was not going to like this. It's not a one-on-one match for a title. He's going to hate this. And then the match starts. And then I'm annoyed. I'm super annoyed at the match because they're falling into the trope where it's like just two guys fighting at a time. Then one guy gets thrown out of the ring, and then it's the next two guys, and then the other guy gets thrown out, and it's two guys, and so on and so forth. They keep doing that pattern, and they did that for the majority of the match. I remember sitting on my couch and just like taking deep breaths, and you go, Warren, it's not good for your heart. Don't let it get to you. It's not that big a deal. It's just pro wrestling. It doesn't matter. But I was really annoyed. Trust me, I was really annoyed. Then Brian Cage gets eliminated. And then I'm like, all right. So we got ourselves the potential for a new champion, right? And then things really started to pick up. Then just the way Mark Davis was eliminated by Blake Christian, I thought was tremendous. And I'm like, oh shit, okay, all right. And the final stretch of this match was absolutely phenomenal with an audience who was eating this shit up by the spoonful. Like if this was actual food, these people would not have to eat for days because they'd still be satisfied to this day with everything they gobbled up. It was tremendous. Now, not that there wasn't tremendous stuff before, I thought it was a good match overall, and it started off as a good match, and then it turned to great. I thought that this match rocked. I think I don't like it as much as other people did because the first part, I can't begin to tell you how annoyed I was. I was so annoyed with the match structure. But then I'm like, but then it completely flipped when Cage got eliminated. And then I thought the match structure was very smart. In fact, I thought everything was really brilliant. And before that, look, Willie Mack, like stuttering people right and left, was absolutely tremendous. I was clapping my hands. I was going, let's go. I was enjoying it. But then, like I said, we get Blake Christian and Commander left. And I don't think this match would have worked as well. I think, okay, let me start that over. I think we had a perfect convergence of things here that really made this match work. And things that were maybe out of Tony Khan's hands, but he sort of looked into it. I don't think anyone sincerely believed that Commander was going to win here because Commander loses. That's his thing. He just loses every match he's in. And my first thought, and I promise you, my first thought was, Blake Christian, Ring of Honor TV champion? Like that's how much I had written the guy off. I was like, I can't even consider Commander as a proper contender for a championship because of how he's booked. Because it's fucking Commander. He's got fucking Alex Abrahantes running around him, and then he loses matches. So that was my baseline. I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. That Commander wins, and I'm sure that most people watching this had the same reflex, which is why the near falls and Christian using some underhanded techniques during the match, during the final stretch, I should say. They got everyone like into it because they were like, oh shit, no, come on, Commander, you got to do it. You can't let this guy win, but we don't really believe it. That's why the comebacks were so good because naturally the psychology of the fan in this one was Commander's not going to win. And he's having these great hope spots where you're like, oh, maybe is he making me believe? Is he making me believe? And eventually, not only did he make you believe, but he did it. He did the rope walk moonsault and got the win, which is tremendous. Like, honestly, what more do you want? And they were doing such fantastic stuff. And I got to tell you, probably my favorite Blake Christian performance in a long time. He was feeding off the crowd. This crowd was into it. They were hot. They didn't want to see Blake Christian win. They probably were pissed off at the idea that he was going to win. And they, easy to get behind Commander in this. It was so easy to get behind Commander in this circumstance. And that's what they did. You know, we get the poison run off the top rope by Commander and the rope walk dive. You know, Blake Christian hits a curb stomp at one point, covers. Everyone thinks it's done. Everyone thinks it's finished. Like you can feel the room deflate. And then Commander lifts his arm at 2 and everyone goes nuts. And then he does a springboard destroyer, then does the rope walk moonsault for the, like, what more do you want? This is great. This is a very, very, very well made final stretch. It was smartly booked, well put together. It's a good job. It is a good job. I might be on the low end of this. I gave it a 4. I'm probably on the low end of this because I was so annoyed at the start. I think if they had done things a little differently at first and were just a little more creative, trying stuff out, I would have probably gone higher on it. But I still thought this was a great match with a fantastic finish. I don't know what, like, that's it. That's it. I guess we're going down the card. I haven't really decided. So I guess we'll just keep going down to the top of the card, and then we'll, yeah, I think that's what we're doing. So let's keep going. The Sons of Texas, being Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, successfully retained the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship against the Righteous in a match that that was absolutely hurt by New York's rule for no blood, New York State's rule, of course. Yeah, I mean, there's like, you know, it is what it is. I thought this was all right, you know, but you know, there's things that they leaned into here that probably would have been a lot better if we did get a little juice and we got a little like visceral emotion instead of preying off this phony baloney emotion. Well, I'm not saying that phony baloney is maybe not the wrong way, but this contrived, this forced upon us emotion of, you know, Dustin doing this for Dusty, and you know, with Dusty's cowbell. Like, again, I don't watch the week to week. I don't know how much memorabilia Dusty hang on to over the years, but was this really like his cowbell? Was this really his? And somehow Dutch got his hands on it or whatever. Like the whole thing at the end where, you know, where I'm like, where Dustin is holding it with reverence and Sammy's going, use it. And he holds it. He's looking down at it. And in an absolute 100% WWE style moment where, you know, Michael Cole is screaming into the microphone that, you know, this is, you know, he's doing this for Dusty. It's for Dusty's memory. This was Dusty's, you know, favorite bull rope. I don't know what this was. You know, and we're supposed to get behind it, and then the crowd is up on their feet, but the crowd here, they didn't care. They didn't know what was going on because, again, no one watches the fucking show week to week. So he's just standing there holding the bell, and then he cracks it over Dutch's head for the win, right? I don't know. There's a table with barbed wire, you know, but there's no blood. Like, it's so very weird. It's really weird that you get a Texas bull rope match. You got the barbed wire out. Everyone's dressed in white. Even Sammy Guevara had a white t-shirt on for a while anyway, before he took it off, before doing another one of his dives where he wiped himself out, right? Sammy Guevara's demotion to Ring of Honor is not touched upon enough. We don't talk about it enough. Probably because he's on Ring of Honor and nobody watches, so he's out of sight, out of mind kind of thing for a lot of people. But isn't that like an interesting, fascinating turn of events, right? Where it's like one of these guys that was established as being one of the 4 pillars, one of the 4 young guys upon which AEW was going to be built, right? And he's not even on the show anymore. And he's been suspended, twice or something like that? You know, took some time off to have his kid. Congratulations to him and Tay, and, you know, for their beautiful little girl. And that's tremendous. Like, I have no issues with that. I don't wish ill will to their family. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But, you know, a guy that a lot of aspirations had been put upon, he has clearly not lived up to. And maybe the guy that a lot of people thought, you know, that a lot of people thought was a little weird that was included in here was being Darby Allin, right? I think Darby is running to, you know, in a close second to Max, to MJF in regards to if you're ranking the pillars of AEW, Darby's a close second. Like, he's absolutely outshined Sammy. He's outshining Jack, but I'm calling it a demotion. We got to call it what it is, right? It's a demotion. It is what it is. We're not going to say, oh, he's gone to hang out. No, this is a guy who should, you know, who's had a spot on everything. And look, you know, the booker likes him. You know, the booker likes him because he's still getting a match at the Tokyo Dome. Sammy Guevara is still going to the Tokyo Dome on January 5th to fight Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Sho, for fuck's sake, for the Ring of Honor World title, World Tag Team title, excuse me, which was announced on the show. We discovered this little bit of trivia on the show. As Uncle Nobu and Sho were there to cut the promo, at least via video. They didn't mention them by name, which leads me to believe that, you know, either they didn't give a shit or they didn't know who they were fighting. Just like in the promo, they were like, just bring the Ring of Honor World titles with you, you know. But they didn't say Sami, Dustin, you know, nothing like that. It was just like, hey, you, the tag team champions. Yeah, which was hilarious, a legitimately hilarious moment when you think about it. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I mean, everyone worked hard, but it just lacked all the, it lacked the juice, literally and figuratively, for this match for a Texas bull rope match to work. Let's move on. You know what it felt like? We'll just wrap it up on this. You know what it felt like? One of WWE's, you know, bloodless hardcore matches, right? That's how it felt like. Lee Moriarty successfully retained the Ring of Honor Pure title in his open challenge, which was answered by Nigel McGuinness, which a lot of people were expecting. You know, I thought it was cool. I was kind of, you know, I was hopeful that it'd be someone else. You know, they could have done something really, really cool here, but you know, is Nigel not cool? No, Nigel is cool. And it was a really good match. But man, that roast session to start off the match between Nigel and Shane Taylor was just like chef's kiss. That was funny, risque, just bonkers. You know, I know you have hair around your mouth, but you don't have to talk like a pussy, says Nigel McGuinness. And to which Shane Taylor responds, "You are what you eat." And then Nigel comes back with, well, if you are what you eat, then you are Lee Moriarty's asshole, which is just like tremendous stuff. Got the crowd into it, got me into it. And that was tremendous. Again, when I was chatting with Joe Lanza, he said that Nigel came out to a sound-alike of "Fucking in the Bushes" by Oasis. I didn't notice, but if it is the case, you know, probably Tony had to draw a line somewhere with all the licensed music for this night. It's like Blink-182, Frank Sinatra. You know, we gotta pump the brakes here for a bit here. Here you go, Nigel. We're gonna get Mikey Ruckus to whip up a sound-alike for you. Is that okay? Okay. We're good. Good. So Nigel is doing Nigel things, and he's forcing Moriarty into using the rope breaks, much to his dismay. Moriarty, of course, to the point that Shane Taylor is like, "No, we're bringing in another ref here." They even dispense of the judges. The judges were Jerry Lynn, Christopher Daniels, and Rocky Romero. And when they got rid of the judges because they wanted to do this, they wanted to do old school pure rules, which didn't have a judging committee. The guys left, And I don't think there was one guy out of the three who was happier to just hit the bricks and get a free payday than Rocky Romero. Rocky was like, very excitedly looking at his two guys like, really? We're out of here? All right. And he started applauding, got up. He was the first up out of his seat. Like, I still get paid, right? Let's go. I'm out of here. I thought that was funny. The match was really good. I thought this was a tremendous match. It was so good. Nigel looking very good here and wrestling. Having a guy like Lee Moriarty, who is a highly skilled technical wrestler, going with Nigel, who could still grapple, maybe not do the more athletic, spectacular stuff he used to do, but this match connected, and everything was working. We got some great drama with the rope breaks, all the way down to the last rope break where Nigel lands the Tower of London, the last rope break for Lee Moriarty, as it should say, when Nigel has him, it lands the Tower of London, and Lee has to put his foot on the ropes to break it up, and that was his last one. So, now we're living on the edge. And the great exchange in the final third of the match was just incredible. Just incredible stuff. And Lee uses the ropes for leverage he locks in the Border City stretch, and he's using the ropes for leverage, which is fine because he doesn't have any rope breaks. I think Nigel was out of rope breaks too. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, right? They were all... Nigel taps. He has to. It's tremendous. I think this was my match of the night. I thought this was amazing. I thought it was so friggin' good. A great match. A great match with a fantastic vibe. This really did feel like a match for the Ring of Honor fans, for old school Ring of Honor fans who still are attached to the brand and love the Nigel McGuinness. And the Nigel McGuinness came out. Good for him if he's able to squirrel away a few more matches, despite being told as well that he will forever retire, he can never wrestle again. That has to feel good for him. So that was my match of the night. My least favorite match of the night happened just before, which was Red Velvet versus Layla Hirsch. I don't want to spend too much time on this match, said he before he spends too much time on the match. It was a weird one where there were these bursts all throughout the match where it's like they're landing some strong offense. There's things that are looking really good, really credible. And then for a big stretch, it'd just be, a little all over the place, a little sloppy, but most importantly, a lack of confidence from Layla Hirsch. It's something that jumped out at me. When you contrast her with someone like Red Velvet, who has a lot of confidence. She exudes confidence. She gets into the ring. She knows who she is. She knows what she has to do. She understands her presence, her character, I guess. And you'd probably think that, going to wrestle in Mexico, doing a couple of matches here and there, doing the Grand Prix in Arena Mexico and all that, that's got to add, right? It's got to start stacking up. But Layla Hirsch doesn't have that confidence. And the moment that it really struck me, I was like, that she really didn't, was, I think it's like in the last third of the match, she's going up to the top rope to do a high flying move. I don't remember what it was, right? Apologies for that. But, wrestlers, when they get up to the top rope, sometimes they'll just stand away all the way to the top and they'll extend their arms, right? And then they'll do the move, just like they're standing on the top turnbuckle. They're facing the audience. You're either doing this for the pop or the heat or whatever. And then they do the thing, right? Well, Layla tried to do that, but she couldn't extend her body. She couldn't stand up straight. She was sort of bent over on herself, like at a 65-degree angle. And then she lifts her arms kind of like this for a second and then does the move immediately. Like she doesn't look confident. She didn't look confident doing it. It's like, okay, well, that's her issue right now. It's nothing she she does feels like it has true weight to it. I don't know. I didn't think this was particularly interesting or good. I gave this a 2 stars out of 5. That is. Let's move on. Jay Lethal defeated QT Marshall, which ended up being a Randy Savage. This match ended up being a Randy Savage tribute match. You've got QT Marshall coming out with the NWO gimmicked up Randy Savage, and Jay Lethal came out as a Black Machismo, and audience was really into that. And they have themselves a match. Look, I know a lot of people liked it, thought it was fun. Me, too much shtick. Too much nonsense. I wasn't into it. Nice little final stretch. But, and I'd be lying if I didn't, if I didn't get a bit of a reaction, a little, oh yeah, when Jeff Jarrett's Bree Woo started resounding throughout Hammerstein, right? This would mean, if I'm not mistaken, this means, and I know a lot of people are talking about this, like, I think this means that Jeff Jarrett has only, as far as major promotions go in North America, has only not ever worked ECW, right? Because he's worked, of course, he's worked WWF, WCW, he's worked AEW, and now he has worked Ring of Honor. I don't think he's ever worked ECW. Hell, he even worked GCW, right? And in Mexico, he works AAA. He's worked New Japan that one time. What was it? Wrestle Kingdom 9, right? That one time. And I mean, that's it, right? But nonetheless, he's worked probably, who else has worked as many promotions as he has throughout their career? He's never worked CMLL, probably never will because of the politics that are involved. That's a thing in and about itself. But yeah, this is a match that I thought was well worked, but there was far too much nonsense for my liking. I give it 2 3/4 stars. For me, it didn't work. If you want to compare, if you want to go pound for pound with me, then, as far as QT Marshall matches go, much preferred his match with the Costco guy, without a question, without any question. But you know what? QT wanted to wrestle more, which was one of the reasons why there was that departure from AEW. Wanted to wrestle more. He's wrestling more. Katsuyori Shibata beat the piss out of Tommy Billington. I love this match so much. I loved it so much. This is what they say, how the kids say this is the real Graps. This was it. This was one of those matches. I mean, Billington is still stupid young as well, but holy shit does he rule. And we were talking about it, Joe and I, right? It's crazy how his use of his uncle's gimmick, right down to the tights and everything, right? How the use of his uncle's gimmick doesn't seem to be impeding on his appreciation by the wrestling fans, who could immediately just turn around and say, you know what? This is cosplay. Hit the bricks, pal. This stinks. But no, like, everyone is into, like, we were even talking about how he's early stages, like he's early stages Dynamite, right? He's not roided up Dynamite down the road, right? Because, some people do point that out. Oh, he should hit the juice, right? Hang on. Like, if we're doing the proper cosplay, these are the openings, this is the start of the Dynamite Kid career. Well, you got to go slow, right? And he looks like him. He dresses like him. He's got everything down pat. He's even got the original hair. Like he's just being his uncle. And there's some people who probably and there's a lot of people who'd probably be shitting on this. But I believe that since he doesn't play it off as a gimmick, but as authenticity, like he believes he's Dynamite Kid, like he believes that he is, the authenticity comes across. So you're like, yeah, this is fine. Like it works. Because if he was doing like just a silly tribute, right, and it was sort of half-assed or whatever, you wouldn't buy into it. But everything is so down pat. It just works. It's tremendous how much it works. And Katsuyori Shibata is Katsuyori Shibata, and another great showing for Shibata, who is looking more and more like he used to be, despite the fact that I know he will never be who he used to be. He's still wrestling now more like he used to be, as opposed to when he started back wrestling, and it feels like he was going soft and everyone was going soft. Here, he felt like the guy, he felt like the wrestler again. And we're seeing more and more of that. And that makes me happy. And I'm sure it makes him happy. And I'm sure Tommy, I should say, was stoked to get the piss beat out of him by Katsuyori Shibata. Like there was absolutely something very awe-inspiring for him. And that's tremendous. I love this match. This is a solid 3.5 star match that I love. So this is probably my favorite 3.5 star match of the year. Designed for Warren is what that was. Just two guys going in there wrestling, just doing wrestling, not cutting monologues, not looking for charm bracelets, not trying to, to distract the ref to do a low blow with your calf, It's none of that. None of that. Loved it. And then in the opener, Atlantis Jr. defeated Mansoor. I thought this was a good opener. I thought it was a good little opener. I feel like, again, cage match is a little rough on it. They're giving it a 5.63 out of 10. I'm at 3.25. I liked it more. I thought this was a really good opener. I think it took some time for them to find their chemistry with each other, but then it started to sizzle. I think they had a really good final stretch. But then I think the thing that overshadows everything is that because Mason Madden was there accompanying the Mansoor and was trying to interfere until from under the ring appeared Danhausen, to the shock and dismay of everyone watching. I don't think anyone expected to see Danhausen show up in a Tony Khan promotion, right? I think look, if you're slightly out of the loop, there has obviously been nothing confirmed, but there have been multiple reports and a lot of stuff going around on the darker, on the dark web, the close, the hush tones corners of wrestling discussion about how broken down the relationship between Danhausen and Tony Khan, AEW at the very least, had become, to the point that no one thought he was going to come back. Everyone was just like, yeah, he's sitting out his contract. They're not doing a thing with him, and that'll be the end of that. And that he'd never be on television ever again, ever booked in a Tony Khan promotion ever again. And yet, I think this was like the hell freezes over moment of the year. Just quite honestly. Last year we had CM Punk showing back up in WWE, but then again, hell freezes over. But there's nothing like spiting your old employer. Anyway, that's a whole other. And this year we have Danhausen outright showing back up on a Tony Khan promotion, and I'm floored. I'm completely floored. I was like, what? I could not believe it. So good for him. And Hammerstein went nuts as well. Everyone loves the Danhausen. What more is there to say? Look, Atlantis Jr. got the win. Even started doing the hand gesture around the belly for the for the TV title, we're assuming. So maybe Atlantis Jr. and Commander is in the cards. And look, if we can work out the politics about it, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that. You'd have to be a complete, you have to be a complete Scrooge to not want to get excited about Atlantis Jr. versus Commander. Just saying. So that was the main card. I gave it 3.25 stars. Did I say that? I think I did. That was the main card. I enjoyed it overall. My nitpicks are with really just a couple of matches, but overall, I thought this was a very enjoyable pro wrestling show with a couple of great matches on it. Was it? Look, we've seen better Ring of Honor pay-per-views, but I don't think this was bad. I thought this was a good wrestling show. And then we had, of course, the pre-show, the 0 hour, where we opened up with the Grizzled Young Veterans defeating the Dark Order in kind of a bit of a nothing match, really. The JYV had at Strong Style Evolve, the New Japan show out in Long Beach, they had what I thought was their best match since leaving WWE. And I was like, oh, okay. Have we flipped on the switch and are we ready to go? And then they fight the Dark Order and it's like, no. All right. Hanako from Stardom defeated Harley Cameron. Fine little match. I got nothing to add there. Outside the fact that Harley Cameron is tremendous. The Kingdom, the Undisputed Kingdom defeated the Infantry. I am completely disinterested in the Undisputed Kingdom and all of that. So I really have nothing. I have nothing here. And the Gates of Agony defeated EJ Nduka, the Judge, and Big Shotty Lee Johnson in a match I liked, and in which I really enjoyed watching EJ Nduka do his thing. And look, Joe and I talked about it quite a bit over on the instant reaction that we did. So I'm not going to rehash all the points here, other than to say that Nduka is a guy that you have to give a chance to, like, just look at his size, look at his charisma. He's got the thing, Pairing him with Lee Johnson is such a good idea. Lee Johnson is tremendous. Even though Nduka is 36 years old, I think there might be something there. I think there's still something there. They clearly think there's something for him here. Look, they gave him a moment, right? They had him come in, do the quote unquote hot tag, even though it wasn't all that hot, where he walks up to Tony Leona and then they give a stare down and they start striking each other. Like, they want to give Nduka moments to shine. They gave him some here. We'll see where this leads, but they clearly feel good about him, like I feel good about him. That was my favorite match of the pre-show. Outside of that, that's the review. That's the review. Ring of Honor Final Battle 2024 again. A good show. 2 great matches that I think you should seek out the Commander match, because or the I say the Commander match, but the Survival of the Fittest, because it's a great match with a fantastic finish that you have to watch, especially coupled after with the backstage stuff where Commander is in tears, like he's so happy. Like, goddamn, these are real authentic moments in pro wrestling that you can't fabricate. The kind of stuff that wrestling companies like to put together and try to contrive the emotion, try to manipulate you into feeling a way. But this was all so very well done, well built. It's manipulative, don't get me wrong, but not in the sense where you're expected to follow the narrative, right? Where you're expected to, hey, you're supposed to feel this way here now and then play your part. No, this was something that was put together that just made a lot of sense. And the audience was just, the audience reaction to this was all natural. This is what makes pro wrestling great. This is literally what makes pro wrestling great. Watch that. Watch Lee Moriarty and Nigel. I thought it was a blast. I mean, if you want to watch the whole show, you won't get bored. Trust me. You can skip whatever needs to be skipped. And I think the main event matches aren't necessarily worth your, sitting down to watch. I don't think there were anything special. But yeah, there's enough good stuff on the show here. Good little pro wrestling event, if you ask me. Ring of Honor Final Battle 2024.